Deuteronomy 23.
If a man's private parts have been crushed or cut off, he cannot fully belong to the Lord's people. No one born outside of a legal marriage, or any of their descendants for 10 generations, can fully belong to the Lord's people. No Ammonites or Moabites, or any of their descendants for 10 generations can become part of Israel, the Lord's people. This is because when you came out of Egypt, they refused to provide you with food and water. And besides, they hired Balaam to put a curse on you. But the Lord your God loves you, so he refused to listen to Balaam and turned Balaam's curse into a blessing. Don't even think of signing a peace treaty with Moab or Ammon. But Edomites are your relatives, and you lived as foreigners in the country of Egypt. Now you must be kind to Edomites and Egyptians, and let their great-grandchildren become part of Israel, the Lord's people. When you men go off to fight your enemies, make sure your camp is acceptable to the Lord. For example, if something happens at night that makes a man unclean and unfit for worship, he must go outside the camp and stay there until late afternoon. Then he must take a bath, and at sunset he can go back into camp. Set up a place outside the camp to be used as a toilet area, and make sure that you have a small shovel in your equipment. When you go out to the toilet area, use the shovel to dig a hole. Then, after you relieve yourself, bury the waste in the hole. You must keep your camp clean of filthy and disgusting things. The Lord is always present in your camp, ready to rescue you and give you victory over your enemies. But if he sees something disgusting in your camp, he may turn around and leave. When runaway slaves from other countries come to Israel and ask for protection, you must not hand them back to their owners. Instead, you must let them choose which one of your towns they want to live in. Don't be cruel to runaway slaves. People of Israel, don't any of you ever be temple prostitutes. The Lord your God is disgusted with men and women who are prostitutes of any kind, and he will not accept a gift from them, even if it had been promised to him. When you lend money, food, or anything else to another Israelite, you are not allowed to charge interest. You can charge a foreigner interest, but if you charge other Israelites interest, the Lord your God will not let you be successful in the land you are about to take. People of Israel, if you make a sacred promise to give a gift to the Lord, then do it as soon as you can. If the Lord has to come looking for the gift you promised, you will be guilty of breaking that promise. On the other hand, if you never make a sacred promise, you can't be guilty of breaking it. You must keep whatever promises you make to the Lord. After all, you are the one who chose to make the promises. If you go into a vineyard that belongs to someone else, you are allowed to eat as many grapes as you want while you are there. But don't take any with you when you leave. In the same way, if you are in a grain field that belongs to someone else, you can pick heads of grain and eat the kernels, but don't cut down the stalks of grain and take them with you.
Deuteronomy 24.
Suppose a woman was divorced by her first husband because he found something disgraceful about her. He wrote out divorce papers, gave them to her, and sent her away. Later she married another man, who then either divorced her in the same way or died. Since she has slept with her second husband, she cannot marry her first husband again. Their marriage would pollute the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and he would be disgusted. If a man and a woman have been married less than 1 year, he must not be sent off to war or sent away to do forced labor. He must be allowed to stay home for a year and be happy with his wife. When you lend money to people, you are allowed to keep something of theirs as a guarantee that they will pay back the loan. But don't take one or both of their millstones, or else they may starve. They need these stones for grinding grain into flour to make bread. If you are guilty of kidnapping Israelites and forcing them into slavery, you will be put to death to remove this evil from the community. I have told the priests what to do if any of you have leprosy, so do exactly what they say. and remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam after you left Egypt. When you lend money to people, you are allowed to keep something of theirs as a guarantee that the money will be paid back. But you must not go into their house to get it. Wait outside, and they will bring out the item you have agreed on. Suppose someone is so poor that a coat is the only thing that can be offered as a guarantee on a loan. Don't keep the coat overnight. Instead, give it back before sunset, so the owner can keep warm and sleep and ask the Lord to bless you. Then the Lord your God will notice that you have done the right thing. If you hire poor people to work for you, don't hold back their pay, whether they are Israelites or foreigners who live in your town. Pay them their wages at the end of each day, because they live in poverty and need the money to survive. If you don't pay them on time, they will complain about you to the Lord, and he will punish you. Parents must not be put to death for crimes committed by their children, and children must not be put to death for crimes committed by their parents. Don't put anyone to death for someone else's crime. Make sure that orphans and foreigners are treated fairly. And if you lend money to a widow and want to keep something of hers to guarantee that she will pay you back, don't take any of her clothes. You were slaves in Egypt until the Lord your God rescued you. That's why I am giving you these laws. If you forget to bring in a stack of harvested grain, don't go back into the field to get it. Leave it for the poor, including foreigners, orphans, and widows, and the Lord will make you successful in everything you do. When you harvest your olives, don't try to get them all for yourself, but leave some for the poor. And when you pick your grapes, go over the vines only once. Then let the poor have what is left. You lived in poverty as slaves in Egypt until the Lord your God rescued you. That's why I am giving you these laws.
Deuteronomy 25.
Suppose you and someone else each accuse the other of doing something wrong, and you go to court where the judges decide you are guilty. If your punishment is to be beaten with a whip, one of the judges will order you to lie down, and you will receive the number of lashes you deserve. 40 lashes is the most that you can be given, because more than that might make other Israelites think you are worthless. Don't muzzle an ox while it is threshing grain. Suppose two brothers are living on the same property, when one of them dies without having a son to carry on his name. If this happens, his widow must not marry anyone outside the family. Instead, she must marry her late husband's brother, and their first son will be the legal son of the dead man. But suppose the brother refuses to marry the widow. She must go to a meeting of the town leaders at the town gate and say,
"My husband died without having a son to carry on his name, and my husband's brother refuses to marry me so I can have a son."
The leaders will call the living brother to the town gate and try to persuade him to marry the widow. But if he doesn't change his mind and marry her, she must go over to him while the town leaders watch. She will pull off one of his sandals and spit in his face, while saying,
"That's what happens to a man who won't help provide descendants for his dead brother."
From then on, that man's family will be known as the family of the man whose sandal was pulled off. If two men are fighting, and the wife of one man tries to rescue her husband by grabbing the other man's private parts, you must cut off her hand. Don't have any mercy. Don't try to cheat people by having two sets of weights or measures, one to get more when you are buying, and the other to give less when you are selling. If you weigh and measure things honestly, the Lord your God will let you enjoy a long life in the land he is giving you. But the Lord is disgusted with anyone who cheats or is dishonest. People of Israel, do you remember what the Amalekites did to you after you came out of Egypt? You were tired, and they followed along behind, attacking those who could not keep up with the others. This showed that the Amalekites have no respect for God. The Lord your God will help you capture the land, and he will give you peace. But when that day comes, You must wipe out Amalek so completely that no one will remember they ever lived.